This is only episode 5. Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel and my review of Batwoman episode 5. This feels like episode 50. So we kick off the episode with a creepy scene of Alice cutting skin off the thighs of cadavers in a morgue. Good start, I know. Cut to the Batcave where Luke is informing Kate about the skin bandit who likes to take skin from the booty, even though we just saw it being taken from the thigh. And to try to get an ID on the skin pirate, they decide to go to the cameras that are conveniently located all over Gotham City. Now, unfortunately, the cameras pick up a shadowy figure, so they can't really identify who it is. But luckily, Luke has access to the Wayne closed-circuit camera system where we can find a perfectly lit image of Alice walking out of the morgue with a bag of skin. How convenient. From here, Kate decides she's going to put a stop to this before it goes too far. Define too far. So then Luke is able to locate Alice's hideout because of the tracker they put in the henchman's neck in the last episode. Next, we see Alice back at the hideout talking to her henchman with the tracker in his neck, and the Bunny Rabbit gang is there with machine guns, just ready for someone to show up. And, well, guess who shows up? And the next thing you know, the lights go out, and Batwoman, armed with her night vision lenses, takes out all the henchmen, including Alice. Now, see, this is where Batman would have done this better. Batman would have tied up all the henchmen, called the cops, and then captured the Joker. But not Batwoman. Oh, no, she leaves them all unconscious and then takes Alice back to the Batcave. Boy, I sure hope that doesn't come back to haunt her in this episode. So Kate begins to interrogate Alice, and she sees that, well, it's just not going anywhere. So she says, listen, I'm just going to call Dad, and he can trace the call, and he'll come get you, and he'll take you to Arkham. Huh? What do you think about that? There's only one problem with that, Kate. You're in the freaking Batcave. If you make a call to your dad and he traces your phone, he's going to find out that you're Batwoman because you're in a Batcave. He's going to find out that Bruce was Batman. I mean, are we going to try a little bit here? Instead of trying to get your dad involved, how about you just threaten to take her to Arkham? Would that accomplish the same thing? And then maybe we could have a cool scene where Batwoman is taking Alice to Arkham, and then she's walking by all these, prison cells with different villains in there. Just saying. So then Alice says, okay, fine, I'll tell you the whole story, but I've got to show you. So they decide to go take a drive. What? So of course they take off on a drive with the world's worst green screen ever, and Alice is only handcuffed with one hand. What could possibly go wrong? And during their conversations, we find out that the accident actually happens 14 months before the stepmom fakes Beth's death. Damn, Daddy got remarried pretty quick, didn't he? So we flash back to little Beth waking up on a couch in some weirdo's house. And of course, this traumatic car crash that killed her mother leaves her with no broken bones, no contusions, no scratches, there's no blood on her whatsoever. So the guy that owns the house has a son, and he reassures Beth that don't worry, the police are on their way, you just relax, I'm going to make you a sandwich. Flashback to Dad and Sophie, and they're talking about the call that Kate just made to her dad, and Sophie says, hey, I'll get the team together. And Dad's like, no, I don't want another standoff like we had at the park. But that was your team. If you don't like the way that went down, then just change the rules of engagement, dude. I mean, come on. I mean, you're in charge, right? So Sophie gets a trace on Kate's phone, and then just the two of them take off. Not a whole SWAT team, just the two of them. What could possibly go wrong? So then we cut to stepmom and Kate's stepsister, Mary. And it's in this scene that stepmom confesses to faking the death of Beth, and Mary is just so overcome with emotion and so upset, but she can't muster up any tears. I mean, it's the worst almost crying you've ever seen. It's like bad soap opera stuff. I mean, it's almost like they were waiting for the makeup guy to squirt them in the face with water. It was really bad. So then we see that Alice and Kate have pulled over to a diner to have a meal because why not? And in the diner scene, we see that Kate is still trying to pull the information out of Alice, trying to get the story out. You can tell that she really wants to know what happened to her sister. And she's got this line, we spent half our lives together. And it's just, Ruby is she's not a good actress. I mean, the actress that plays Alice has a range. She can kind of fool you later on in the episode. But Ruby she just can't do it. You just can't get to that point. It's just the same expression. We spent half our lives together. There's not a lot of nod pouting in this episode, but there's just a lot of that furrowed brow, sort of, very concerned. Like the eyebrows are doing all the acting on Ruby. Nothing else is moving, but the eyebrows are. That's how you know she's got. It's like Mr. Potato Head when he puts on his angry eyes. That's how you know he's serious. That's how we know Ruby is serious because the eyebrows furrow. It's like I look like Spock. So then we flash back to Beth on that same day that she woke up from her car crash coma. And she sees a news report on TV where they're talking about her and they're trying to find her. So then she confronts Mouse's dad and says, hey, I want to call my dad. And he says, no, you're not going anywhere. We don't want you to leave. Grabs her, takes her downstairs, and locks her up in the dungeon/basement. And this is where we see, again, that scene where there's a human face in the sink. Cut the commercial. So we come back from commercial and we find that stepsister Mary is now drunk and she's looking for Kate. So she, goes to Wayne Tower, and the security guard that's supposed to shoo the drunk people away takes the drunk person up to the top floor to talk to Luke. I don't think that's how security guards work, because at this time Luke doesn't even realize that that's Kate's stepsister. So next we check on Dad and Sophie, who are out in the car driving, trying to track down Kate and Alice. And Sophie says, boss, I know I shouldn't ask you this, but are you okay? And then Dad proceeds to tell her all about the fake death and the bomb that was planted by stepmom. And the whole time I'm thinking, why are you telling Sophie this? And then he finishes up the conversation with, we have to catch Alice, check her DNA, and let science tell us the truth. Good. Science in this show. It's about time. So then we flash back to Mouse's dad taking the face out of the sink. And we never find out where the face come from. We never see a dead body or anything, so we don't know where the face came from. It's just the face floating in the sink. And of course, Beth asks, well, why the face? Why that face? And of course, the dad explains that he's trying to fix his son's face because, Mouse has some scar tissue on the right side, like maybe it was in a fire, which you got to ask, well, why don't you just go get skin grafts? I mean, this takes place in the year 2002. I mean, this is not, the 1960s or 50s. I mean, you have plastic surgeons, right? Why don't you just why couldn't he be like a criminal that was robbing banks to save up enough money to get his son plastic surgery? No, he's got to be a weird, mad scientist cutting faces off of random people. I don't know. Where did the face come from? So then we head back to the diner to find that Kate's been roofied, but not in the cool, nightclub way. No, this is the diabolical way. We find out that Mouse is actually the waiter. Go figure. So then after Kate passes out, we see Dad and Sophie show up to the diner. And what do you know it, the same henchmen that were left unconscious and not tied up for the cops are now back to have a shootout with fully automatic weapons. Way to go, Batwoman. And I know this is a small detail, but when you're a Bunny Rabbit gang member and you've got a fully automatic machine gun, don't step out of the bushes and then open fire. You've got to drop on the guy. Just stay hidden and open fire. But because you've stepped out of the bushes, now Dad can see you and react before you can pull the trigger. And I expect more out of my Bunny Rabbit henchmen. Now, what are our heroes supposed to do? They're only armed with pistols, and you've got 6 guys with fully automatic weapons. Well, don't worry. Luckily, there's a giant propane tank that everyone is standing next to. So Dad shoots the propane tank, and the explosion throws all the bad guys to the ground. And as their burning bodies lay on the asphalt, Sophie says, "Keep your asses on the ground." Well, they're on fire. And of course, the Crow Trader, the main henchman that had the chip in his neck, he's okay, he's fine. He's got a little scratch. Everyone else is burning and dying. Horrible, horrible fire death. So Dad tries to interrogate him, and he can't get any information. And now they're left with just no leads. They don't know where Kate is. They've lost the signal of the phone. What are they going to do now? So then we unnecessarily cut back to Wayne Tower, where drunk Mary is just berating Luke, and Luke's like, "I want to get out of this show." So next we see Beth and Kate in the house where Beth was held captive. And Kate's sitting on the bed with one hand chained to the wall because we got to have the other hand free to keep the story going. You'll see later. So we flash back to little Beth, who's stuck in this room. She's trying to figure out how to get out. So she's able to pull a nail out of the wall. Just go with it. And then she uses the nail to pick the door lock. Why is the door lock on the inside? This is like the dumbest kidnapper ever. She's then able to run upstairs, get the phone, call her dad, say, "Hey, Dad, it's me. Help me," before the bad guy pulls the cord. And the bad guy says, "If anyone comes to find you, I will kill them, and it's going to be your fault." Now, it's important to remember that Alice/Beth is really, really pissed at her dad and Kate because they gave up looking for her, okay? It's very important that we remember that as we go to the next scene. So Kate explains that she remembers that phone call. Her dad then calls the cops with the new information. The cops refuse to help, given this new information. Okay. Her dad's able to trace the call. He and Kate show up at the house an hour later. 1 hour later. Dad tells Kate to stay in the car. He takes a pistol. He goes to the house. He barges in. He's yelling Beth's name as he's walking through the house. He goes upstairs, not to find Beth, but to find the son. And this is when the bad guy tries to convince Dad that no, it was just my son that called you, and it was a prank, and he has this really awesome talent to perfectly mimic the voice of another human being. What? So of course the kid or young mouse demonstrates this for the dad, and the dad is just confused. Well, how did you even hear her voice? Bad guy explains that, oh, well, we saw it on TV. So while this is going on, Kate gets out of the car, goes into the house, goes down to the basement, goes to the door of the room that Beth is currently in, and actually says, Beth? Beth? Now it's at this point that Beth could do anything, could say anything, could make a noise, and this would alert everybody to her position, and Dad would come running downstairs, and they would bust the door down and save Beth, right? But what does Beth do? Nothing. Okay, so she's a young kid. She's scared. She doesn't know if the bad guy is going to kill her parents. I understand that. I get that. But now, as an adult, as a rational adult, we flash back to Alice retelling this story to Kate. And Alice says, I was waiting for you to feel me. What? This is so stupid. This is so asinine. What more could they have done? They were at the house an hour after you made the call. Your sister was downstairs. She was on the other side of the door. She's asked for your name. She called your name. And you're pissed because she didn't sense you? Did you ever think that maybe she did sense you and that's why she went downstairs and went through that door? Did you ever think that maybe there was a connection there? And of course, this is justification for everything. And Kate just goes along with it. And we end the scene with Kate just with a tear going down her cheek. So now we go back to Wayne Tower where we see that Drunk Mary is now helping Luke, and you can see what they're doing. They're setting up the team. There's going to be a Batwoman team. Like every CW show, you've got the hero and you've got the team that helps them, which is fine. I understand it, but it's a little bit on the nose. I mean, we already know that the stepsister is a surgeon/doctor, that she's hiding from other people. I don't know why you would be ashamed of that, but whatever. So I can guarantee you by like episode 7 or 8, we're going to have 15 people that know that Kate Kane is Batwoman. Remember when secret identities used to be a thing? So let's go back to the kidnap house where, Sophie and Dad show up because Dad remembers being in the area. And he's like, hey, I was here 15 years ago, so I know where they are. He heads back to the same house. Which, okay, I can kind of see that, sure. So Dad goes inside to the house. He has a confrontation with Alice. Alice stabs him with a butterfly knife. Sophie's outside in the shack, and she has a fight with Mouse. And, of course, she wins, so girl power. And of course, while this is going on, Kate, who, remember, she's got that free hand, she pulls a nail out of her boot. Okay. And then she uses the nail to pick the lock on the handcuffs. That's not how that works. You can't just take a solid piece of metal and put it in there. Never mind. And then we have a 3-way Mexican standoff where Kate has a gun to Mouse's head and Alice has a gun to Dad's head, and then Sophie comes in with a shotgun, and they basically just say, okay, see you later. So that's it. I mean, they just let Alice and Mouse go, and Kate and Sophie tend to Dad, who's stabbed on the ground, and that's it. They just let him go. And while Kate's tending to Dad, who's laying on the floor bleeding, he says, that's her. That's Beth. It's been 15 years. How could you possibly know that that's your daughter? You remember earlier in the episode where he said we were going to let science tell us the truth? Now, a science is just based on feeling. So then we have a little scene with Kate on the bridge, and she's monologuing to Bruce about how she's blaming herself because she didn't feel her sister. Look, I'm sorry, but I think you and your dad, you did a pretty good job, okay? And the fact that you couldn't supernaturally feel her, I mean, I don't understand what that would have changed. I mean, if she would have just said something, okay, you would have known she's in the room. If you would have just feeled something, you would have known she's in the room. I mean, it's still the same thing. I mean, you're still going to call up to Dad. Dad's going to come down and try to bust the door down. I mean, whether she calls to you or you sense her, nothing is going to change. So I think Alice is definitely Beth because her and Kate are equally stupid. And the last scene is Alice and Mouse in a room surrounded by candles. We find out that Mouse escaped from Arkham some time ago. And Alice says that she's tired of swimming in a pool of her own tears and wants to know if Mouse can help her find a way out of the pool of her own tears. So I thought that maybe their relationship was romantic, but then she says, I love you, brother. So if it is romantic, man, this is really getting weird. So anyway, y'all, those are my thoughts on episode 5. Let me know down in the comment section, what did you think? Is anybody watching this show? Can I stop, please? Hit like if you like the video. Subscribe if you like the content. Y'all have a blessed day, and I will see you next time.